Yo, welcome to the Roots of Refuge live show. Where are you going?
With Jess and Miah.
That's messed up. You abandoned me? No one's even going to see that.
Getting my tea. Yes, they are. Everybody
The replays?
The replays.
That's not the same thing. Well, I guess Jessica's not doing live today.
I'm getting my tea. Say hello and welcome.
Say hello and welcome, she says. Hello and welcome. Today we're going to paint happy trees.
You're just full of it.
What? What'd you say?
You're just full of joy this afternoon.
Well, I guess it's being better than being full of something else. What's up? What's up? Ken, it's going fast. Greenwich Homestead. What's going on? Hustle and Faith Farm. Big Muddy Homestead. This sounds like my place. Your darling. Oh, listen to that southern draw. How much honey did you put in this?
Enough. Hey, guys. Hey, Xavier. Hey, Andrew. How are y'all doing? Hey, Mom.
Maybe not. Maybe not enough.
Are you serious? That's a good deal of honey in here.
Oh, so are we saying or not saying?
Just say it.
No, you say it. It's your thing. I'm going to go fix this tea.
So we have something exciting that happened today. I was going to hold out and make you guys wait for the vlog tomorrow. But Sweet Maya contested on your behalf and said that you are our faithful friends that watch our live stream, and so we should share the inside information with you and not make you wait for the vlog. I guess, Tasha, I only put 1 spoon of honey in it. That apparently is not enough. I think it's enough. So, oh, Megan, we could have gone through the chicken catalog for an hour. I actually cut some out that was just a little bit more like, like we talked a lot about that. Hey, Mark. Oh, did you have fun at the Stivers, Mark? Did you learn how to butcher some chickens? That homestead life, huh? Got a little
Chris is here.
Thank you, Chris. I'm so glad to see you here. Sweet friend.
You guys like my new mug for Haley Rose? That's what she sent us at Christmas. It's got
because I already have one that's like a tree that has our initials carved in it, and she made another one that's kind of like a different bark. Oh goodness! So, we did the math a couple weeks ago, and
I don't know. Okay, we've gone back and forth, feeling like we have no idea what we're doing. Does anyone else feel like that? Like, surely this is how this is supposed to go. Like, why would it do this if not do that? And what we're referring to is our pigs.
Which, I thought our goats were bred, and then they weren't.
Yeah.
Which it would have been like an accidental breeding from a young buck. It wasn't like we tried to breed them and they didn't get pregnant. But then they weren't pregnant, which was disappointing. And then we bred the pigs. We have 2 female Mangalitsa's. Fanny and Clementine, and we have 1 boar named Gerard, and they're our breeding trio. And we had Gerard, Fanny, and Clem in together for like a few months, and then Fanny had babies, and we then separated Gerard and Clementine together to give Fanny some space to get adjusted to her babies to make sure they were going to be safe. And then after like a few days, we let Clementine out and kept Gerard separated. And so we had done the math.
Me and Ben turned recently. We're just like, okay, so when exactly did we put Gerard up? And that was like the 19th of September.
And we figured out that if she didn't have babies by Monday.
Latest Tuesday,
okay.
At the latest Tuesday, then she could not possibly have been bred at all.
Based on the last time she was with him.
So after that point, if by Tuesday she did not give birth to babies, I was going to put her and Gerard back together in a couple of weeks and start it over again. So that way she's giving birth outside of the cold season.
Which is funny thing, and I haven't put this in a vlog or anything, but my friend Samantha had messaged me a few weeks ago, and I believe in stuff like this. You guys might not, but I totally do. And she was like, I had a dream that your pig had babies. And I was like, you know what? I really am holding out that she's pregnant, even though it does not seem that she is, but like, I really just felt like she was. And so I believe you. And I'm like, okay, I agree with that. And actually we had talked about a couple weeks ago, going ahead and putting her back with Gerard. But then we were like, well, let's just wait. She had messaged me about that dream. And I feel like some of you guys might think that's nuts, but I mean, I've just had it be true too many times. So she messaged me about that dream, and I was like, you know what? I'm going to leave her up. Just on the off chance she is pregnant, I'm not going to take the risk. And we just left her up. And yes, we had piglets today.
Oh, yeah. I just was, Jessica actually was taking a nap.
Siesta.
And I forget what I was doing, but anyways, I went outside to check on something. I was like, I'm gonna go back and check on her. And as I walked back there, I actually called Jason. I was like, man, I was actually gonna be like, I actually called and asked him. I said, do you have like an iPhone that I can FaceTime you? Because I really need you to get like a good look at her. And this is like, I'm looking at her and I see like, you know, even like today, her nipples were like much more defined. Obviously, we know why now, but I was like, man, if she is not bred, she's got some weird hormonal teenager stuff going on, like acne, whatever. And it's just manifesting weird. And I was like, man, do you have an iPhone? He's like, no, I don't have an iPhone. I said, well, I just really need you to, because I just really feel like she's still like, I think she's bred. I just don't get it. And as I step up to the barn, I look in and I see little piglets moving around in the straw. I was like, oh, I answered my own question. So we have 6 more piglets. That gives us 12 total.
I think they're all spoken for, the ones that are going to be sold.
Yeah, so we've already got a list going of people, and I don't even know if we'll be able to fulfill the list of what we have.
I saw Greenwich Homestead. If you'll message me like your name and email and phone number, I'm going to make a hard copy of our list and keep it, and then we'll go down that list if we end up having any extras. I got to go back up. Somebody said name one ham solo.
Bacon. Crispy. Well, we're keeping how many? 2 for us and 1 for your cousin, or 3 for us, 1 for your cousin?
Probably 2 of the first litter. Now that we have a second litter, like if we weren't going to have a second litter, we were going to keep more out of the first litter. Mangalites are ideally butchered at 18 months. 18 months. And so
takes a minute.
So we're looking at now we'll have more to get rid of out of the first litter. And then we'll keep 2 more. We had 6 today. She had 6, 4 are males and 2 are females. I was able to get into the pen while we were feeding her out of it and take a look at them and make sure everybody looks good. They all look really healthy. Funny, we did end up with 1 dark one again and 5 light ones. And this time it's a boy. So that's kind of cool. So yeah, we're super excited about that. And yes, I did get some video of it. Of them, and so that'll be in the vlog tomorrow. I was going to make you guys wait, but Jeremiah said we should reward our faithful live viewers with a little inside info.
So we have 12 total right now.
Yeah.
Now the first set of boys have already been
castrated. Yeah. There were only 2 in the first litter.
So there's 4 boys and 2 girls on this one. And so actually,
I'll tell him, Chris.
We'll figure it out. What do you say?
Tell the kids he said hi.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so the first litter, we're keeping Doris, the dark one. We're going to keep her.
She's going to be a breeder.
We're going to keep her and breed her. But you can actually do some line breeding, especially if you're raising meat animals. And so we're going to go ahead and keep her.
And then there's a family that wants a breeding trio.
And then another couple of people who have said they were interested.
For feeder pigs.
Thank you so much, KRS Grace. We appreciate that super chat. She said, for the piggies, I purchased all of the seeds you recommended from Baker Creek. Can hardly wait to get to planting. Love your videos. Thank you so much. Yeah, so we're keeping 2 for our freezer.
We might keep 2 out of the first round and 1 out of the second round.
Right. And then we're keeping 1 out of the first round for breeding. So we'll be selling 3 of those soon. Like we'll be selling them soon. They're old enough now. They're weaned.
Yeah. We've already.
And now that we know that we'll have others, yeah, we'll be going ahead and selling those. And Jeremiah, I just had an idea. We could take the money from selling the pigs
and buy goats.
Yes. You know me so well. Guys, I have goat
Jessica
fever.
got goat fever so bad she was like, "Listen, we could take these 3 presents back to the store, and the kids will never know that we got it."
I did not say
and then we
that.
could get bred goats
I did not
and stick
say
the goats under the tree.
I did not say
Meh.
that. Yeah. I do want more goats. I've got goat fever. I didn't Piggy Smalls. I know someone said Piggy Smalls.
I'm gonna get a big gold chain for one. I'm gonna call it Flavor Flav.
Of Little and Light. I don't know if you were on here earlier whenever I told everybody about you having the dream about the pigs. I called you when Jeremiah, I left you a message. If you have a very, very excited, slightly spastic voice message for me, I hung up very abruptly. I'm sorry. Of Little and Light. She's the one who had the dream.
Oh, and you told her.
Yeah, and so when you called me and I'm like trying to get my boots on, I called her because I just wanted to tell her like, hey, this happened. So after I hung up, I was like, oh my gosh, I'm such a spaz because I was like, hey, I just got to tell you, and all this stuff. And I was like, okay. I didn't even say bye. I was just like,
Nice. That's nice.
While I put on mixed match socks in my low boots because I couldn't find the tall ones.
Oh yeah, if we can name it that, the black boy that just got born. What we'll do is we'll hold it down when it starts getting furry, and we'll shave like a mohawk on it. We'll call it Mr. T.
No,
that's pretty good. I like Flavor Flav.
So
Daniel Fischelli. I wonder if that's actually Daniel Fischelli or just
another Daniel. I'm sure his name is Daniel Fischelli.
Or like, okay, well,
Fischelli,
when I was young, like 15, 16, like I had a friend in Dallas named Daniel Fischelli who joined the Air Force, and I still think he lives in Texas. I wonder if that's the same guy. That would be actually kind of funny. I've never had anyone from my past show up on a YouTube
well, your cousin
thing.
did that one time, but that
doesn't count because that's my family.
Thank you, Amelia. My son and I are starting our garden plans. His are far more extensive. That's funny. If you could only have 2 chickens, what breeds would you do? I would probably do like Americanas or crested cream leg bar, something that would give me a colorful egg, and then something that would lay a lot, like a red.
Oh, it is him. That's crazy.
Like a Comet or something like that.
Well, what's up, Daniel? That's crazy running into you on our live video.
Xavier, I don't think we'll save him, but we may give that option to some of our friends, like the friends that want the breeding trio.
The boy? I'm sorry, I didn't miss the question.
Yeah, Xavier asked if the black male will be saved for breeding.
I think that's what we're gonna do. There's a like she was saying, there's a family that wants
some for breeding.
Some for breeding, and I think we'll offer them that because it's a unique male. Yeah, Daniel Fischelli. So his cousin Mandy was one of my first very serious girlfriends. Like, we hung out a lot together.
That's fun.
For a while.
Well, Daniel, how did you find out that we had YouTube? I'm curious to know that. Whitney White said she is watching the live while putting together shelves for her new grow room. That is so exciting. I agree. That is very, very exciting, Whitney.
All right, let me just say this. Hey, Daniel, message me on Facebook. I know we're Facebook friends. I'd like to catch up. It's really hard to catch up on live streams because there's 480 people here.
Mm-hmm. What is up, Goldshaw Farm? How are you? I see a lot of names going by. Hey, MC's Garden, Fermented Homestead. So, yeah, I've got the goat fever really intensely. I want to go ahead and actually, I've gotten to the point that I just want to give away the bucks that we have. Christopher Walken was actually given to me. He is a Saanen. from very good milk lines. He's actually a purebred Saanen. He would be registered, but I don't have his papers and all that stuff. But a friend of mine was moving, and she gave me, he was one of her young ones at the time. And he, like, his mother milked like two gallons milk a day. Like, he has very, very good milk lines. And so I haven't really looked to sell them because I don't have papers and all that stuff. And honestly, it's gotten a lot harder to sell. And I don't have all of the like blood work and the paperwork and all of that stuff to show that my herd is clean. My herd is clean. Everybody who has come to me has been tested and has been like CAE negative and all of that stuff. There's been no factors. And then the ones who have left and have been tested by other people have been clean, but I don't have all of that documentation, and I just don't have the capacity to deal with it. And I've had two different people. Goldstraw Farm, actually, Christopher Walken does have a cowbell, because how could you miss out on an opportunity like that? So
yeah, but he's really annoying.
But
he makes the cowbell really annoying, because it's like, I don't need any more cowbell in my life, because I enter the gate and he thinks, oh, it's time to play, or it's time to do something, and he's in rut, so he smells horrible, and he's like, ding 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 ding, ding. Don't you want to play? And I'm like, get away from me! You smell horrible.
Of Little and Light. That's such a great idea. We should ask our community if anybody is traveling from Georgia to here and would be willing to transport a buck. Like, if you've got the capacity to do it, I know, like,
if you're coming from Georgia to here, you could stop off on this town in Alabama. Jessica found the most glorious. I mean, she can't stop talking about it. La Mancha doe.
But it's like,
and I know we're being kind of funny, but seriously though, if anyone's coming this direction, like, we'll pay for you to transport a La Mancha and a two La Mancha doe. Two La Mancha goats, a buck and a doe.
That would be difficult to have.
Just put a divider in your van.
Oh my gosh. Anyway, I did find this doe that was in Alabama, or in Mississippi, but almost Alabama, that is literally like the most beautiful doe I've ever seen. Hold on, I have a picture of her. I keep looking at it. So,
hey, Lauren's in Georgia. She's coming back here in a few weeks.
Yeah, but this is going to be a big stinky buck.
Just stick it in your trailer. what could go wrong?
Look at this doe. Oh, come on. Adjust thing. I gotta show.
It's not working.
It's not working. You're not being able to. Oh, there it is.
Goes. Look at that udder.
You can't.
She literally sent me that picture, and I said, okay.
That udder
doe. She texts us, that udder doe.
He's like, why are you asleep? It's like 1 a.m. He wasn't here. Oh my gosh. Greenwich Homestead said, I have ducks for eggs when I'm setting up a small chicken area to do the compost thing. I can only plan on 5 or 6 birds. I need an idea for something fun that might be able to sell chicks, that I might be able to sell chicks from as an added income. Okay, so you're thinking like getting like a specific breed that you could sell chicks from. Well, first, thank you for the super chat. Secondly, I think you really have to test the waters of your area. I think I've seen a lot of people have success like going for really dark brown eggs with like Morans and stuff, and crossing to, but it would probably be hard. Like, you would probably need to stick to like one breed rather than a lot of mixing, because I've seen people mix for like dark olive eggs, but that requires kind of a lot of birds. But I mean, there was like a big surge in popularity like 6 years ago of like Jubilee Orpingtons, and like several people got into breeding those. And I don't know if those are still quite as popular. I don't know like what the super popular bird is right now, but I think I've seen a lot of people have success with getting into like really good Moran's lines. So hey, Amanda and David.
Spitballing here. If Of Little and Light is close, we could PayPal her the money to have her go get the doe, and then we'll have a place for them to stay temporarily while we can figure out how to go and get the buck and the doe. I have a truck. I just happen to have one of those things.
I really like how excited you are about acquiring these goats for me. I think it's very good. I think you should continue thinking about this.
Okay, it's fine. I'll make it happen. So, Of Little Light, do you have space for one doe? If you do, then let's talk after the live, and I might have you go pick up this crazy good La Mancha doe in Alabama.
It's actually, I don't know. Well, she said, well, maybe. I don't know. We can talk about it later. I don't know. Right now, I have been looking at so many different goats from like areas, just all around. And the main thing is like being really busy and not knowing when we can take the time to go pick up animals, even 5 or 6 hours
Kaylee
away.
just got on Homestead.
Hey, Kaylee.
Our Mangalitsa mama, the second one,
Had her babies
had her
today.
babies today.
6 babies.
So, I basically knew she was pregnant. I never really doubted it.
You should definitely stay that confident about everything that we do on our farm. There's a doe. I have not talked to these people. I don't even know if this doe is still available.
She's still available because she's supposed to be at our farm.
Oh my gosh. Are you getting obsessed with? I've been obsessed with this doe for like a week. And she's in Mississippi.
No, what's really going to happen, guys, this is literally how God does things for us. Like right now, I would not surprise me if she messaged her and was like, oh my gosh, Jess from Roots and Refuge. Stop. Like, I'm a huge fan. Like, what can I do to help get you this mansion? I guarantee you stuff like that.
That is actually what happened whenever we got our Mangalitas.
Yeah, like, she knew about a upcoming.
And she was like super flexible, and like Jeremiah's mom died. I messaged her and we were going to go pick up the pigs and Jeremiah's mom died. And she was like, we'll keep them for you. It's fine. And I was like, man, this lady is so nice. Like, she's really being helpful. And I was so stressed we were going to lose them. It was a really great deal. And I was like, man, she's so kind. And then we get there and she's like, we're really big fans. I was like, I didn't know. So,
she had made us like this delicious dinner.
No, it was really awesome.
What was the honeysuckle farmhouse on Instagram?
Yeah.
That's actually who we got our Mangalitas from. So if you're in Missouri looking for Mangalitas, they'd be a great place to go to.
They're a great place with really sweet people. Single Dad Homesteading said, look in Tennessee, there are good La Mancha breeders, and all I need is an excuse. I have been looking. There are some La Mancha breeders in Arkansas, but not a ton. Like Nubians are really popular here, and Nigerian dwarfs are really popular here. Like there's tons of those options, but I've had a harder time finding La Manchas. There are a few that are like mini La Mancha breeders that are breeding them against Nigerian dwarfs and creating minis, but I want full size ones. And I have been looking, I mean, not like super aggressively, but I've been looking for the last like year for goats casually. What are you laughing about?
That is gonna stick.
What?
Notorious PIG. Gives you its bone in piggy. Piggy. And you talk about smoking them. Get it? Like, listen, the busy bone and big and what was Bone Thugs and Heart. You grew up with this. Don't tell me you did not cruise around with your friends listening to Bone Thugs and Heart. Yes, you did. You did the thing. Your dad told me that about the time of the CD.
That was not Bone Thugs.
Well, it was just as bad.
I'm not denying that.
Everybody, okay, listen. If you're in your 30s, you know what I'm talking about. Bone in big, yeah. Notorious PIG would be amazing because we could play on those words so well.
Rebecca Hunt said, "I'd like to make a joke about money and bacon." Brittany said, "Would you consider water buffalo?" We're not really looking at any like large livestock here. I would love Highland cattle. Like that's like bucket list for me.
That's gonna have to be next property.
I would love to have a herd of sheep next property. Like we don't have enough space here. Right now, we're not going to be adding any other like large animals. Like even like at one point we had talked about like cutting back and only having like 3 goats and then getting a dairy cow. But we've decided not to even do that where we are. Right now, we have 4 acres.
Rays of Grace. I'll have some La Mancha kids due in the spring. They all have to go this year. Message us. Please, right now.
Actually, Amanda, people do keep Highland cattle in the
Actually,
South.
There's a bunch of Highland cattle in Arkansas.
There's a person around the corner that has Highland cattle.
We actually did extensive research into this.
And there are several breeders in like Alabama and Georgia.
Have to have shade.
It's a little hotter there.
You do have to have
water and shade for them.
But doable.
They can't actually say. But like we had some people express concern about keeping Mangalitas in the South because of the heat. And they did lose some of their hair, but they didn't have any issues.
What do you like about Highlands?
I like that
from Homestead in the Highlands. where they came from.
The reason why I like Highland cattle is because of they're really hardy, and they're supposed to thrive on like less pasture and more like woods and kind of more craggy type land. And now where we are now, this specific property is not where we plan on staying long term. Because our house is right next to the road. And while we may be able to acquire more land around here, we're not going to be able to move our house off the road. And so for us, with the fact, like as YouTube has expanded, privacy has become kind of an issue. And so we know we're not going to stay here long term. But just there are plenty of places in Arkansas and other places that we've talked about and looked at that are flat and pasture land. However, I prefer being in a place like that's a ridge or like kind of more mountainous type area. I just don't. And this is one of those things, like, I feel like I've kind of seen like where we'll be. I kind of have like an image in my mind of like what our property will look like. And it's not flat pasture land like that. And that's the only thing I know how to describe it. But like, and so for me, Highland cattle, I think are really suited to the kind of property that I want to have. So which is not necessarily like massive pasture, but for meat would be what we would raise Highland cattle for. I would like to keep maybe a couple of Jersey cows for dairy. Yeah, and Brittany, that they're obviously very well suited for like places that it gets cold. But I would really love to have some of those, and I would like to have a dairy cow.
That's interesting. Homestead in the Highlands is like their meat lasts longer even after they get older. Like, so they age better, so it doesn't get real tough.
That's really interesting.
Like an Angus, if you let it go too old, it doesn't stay good.
That's really interesting. I've heard a lot of really wonderful things. I've heard a lot of really wonderful things about that. And yes, they are adorable. Like Greenwich said, teddy bear babies. Absolutely. They're super cute.
I also see some other people like messaging, being like, hey, I want a La Mancha Doeling. We get first refusal. It's a live video. I want to be ugly, but don't be acting like a bunch of heifers. Okay? We need some goats. And then once we have our goats.
We're actually not looking for that many. We're actually looking for a few La Mancha. What I'm looking for right now, like first and foremost, is I would like to have a couple of does which are bred to kid in February or March, so that we can get back in milk soon, because we don't have any bred goats right now.
I totally want to go to Scotland and visit her.
I know. Isn't she wonderful?
She says Highlands are soft and gentle or dangerous. There's no in between. At least they know what they are. I'm saying, like, there's no confusion. I can deal with that. Like, I'd rather be like that than like kind of be nice and then have a dangerous side that just shows up whenever it feels like it.
I do love Northwest Arkansas, Good Time Holler Homestead. I'm very, very fond of Northwest Arkansas. Homestead in the Highlands is actually one of the farms that I enjoy watching, like, and following the most. Like, because
they're really doing
farming. They're doing the thing. And also, I mean, one, it's just beautiful, and she's fun. She's just fun to watch. Like, she's just like, I just love her personality. But like, I shared this thing. Thank you, Megan Turner. I shared this thing today. Oh, I missed it. Hold on. I'm chasing squirrels here. Laura Yardine said, I would love some more casual vlogs where you guys are doing the animal chores. I would love to get to know your animals' personalities more. Thank you for the super chat. And that's really good feedback. I appreciate that. What was I going to say? Oh, Homestead in the Highlands. Today I posted this thing on Instagram, which I read, and it really was like, whoa, you know how you read like a quote or something sometimes and it really like gets you in the feels? It was from Zig Ziglar, and it said, people often say that motivation doesn't last. Well, neither does bathing. That's why we recommend it daily. And I've shared this with like my doTERRA team before. Like, anytime that you want to do anything, it's good to know what inspires you and like find your spark of inspiration, no matter what it is you're trying to do. Like, when I'm meal planning, I get my cookbooks out and I read my cookbooks, and I might not cook the things that I read, but I feel inspired to cook from reading and drawing the motivation and inspiration from people who are doing what I want to do. And so there are some people that like when I see them, like, those people that when you see them, you are inspired and therefore it motivates you to do what you want to do. And I think that like, when I watch Homestead in the Highlands and I like her farming escapades and how she shares all her stuff, like I feel that inspiration. So thank you. And it is the beautiful backdrop of the Highlands is amazing, but like, just, it's like, okay, this is what I want.
If we did get Highland cattle, see, because like for the most part, Jess gets to choose most of the names. But if we got Highland cattle, like I'm totally going with like a Hobbit theme. It would be like Pippin,
That would be cool.
Frodo, Samwise, and we'd just go really obscure. Like we'd go find all the random Hobbit names that you've never even thought of out of the Silmarillion or something, and go crazy because we have a pretty decent sized herd, I would think.
I love being able to share inspiration with you guys. That is something that's really like a passion of mine. Today, I actually spent like a good bit of time this afternoon, and I went back and I don't think I've ever done this before. I knew Instagram archived your stories, but I don't guess I've ever really looked at them before. And today I went back at my archive stories and was watching the stories from like 2 years ago. And honestly, I was watching, because I used to do Instagram stories every day before I did YouTube. And I was watching them, and honestly, I found inspiration in looking at that. Even though it was me, it was my stuff. To be completely transparent, it was before YouTube, and it was before I had kind of encountered the level of criticism that comes with doing YouTube. And I feel like I was much more unapologetic then, and being like, this is just what we're doing. Like, just not really caring what people's perception was of what we're doing. And I feel like I struggle with that more after having gone through like a lot of, there's a lot of criticism. What?
Someone said, is that a dig at me, given I grew up in the Shires in the middle of England and I'm 4'9"?
That's hilarious.
No, I didn't mean it as an insult. If I was 4'9", I would walk around being a hobbit all the time. Unfortunately, I have to be something else.
She calls herself a hobbit all the time. Harry Potter or Marvel names. Let's see. What are some of the name themes that we've
used some Marvel names on boy bucks? Like we've had Thor.
Gosh, I forgot about Thor.
That was a long time ago.
Yeah.
But I mean, we never really like stuck it out, and like I've saved Jedi names for like animals that would really matter and that are gonna stick around for sure.
Our alpacas all came named, so we didn't name.
Yeah, I didn't get to name any of them.
I think they have great names, Manny and Bill. I mean, like they have really good names. Then our goats all came with names. Our older goats, like a lot of the goats, we didn't name them. Like Nestle, Mayhem.
We named Maggie.
We named Maggie. Her name is actually Magdalene and Miriam. We named both of those. And so the younger ones, Mabel, Margot. Wow, we've named a lot of M names on our goats. Ruth. I named all of those. How do you forget about Thor? We've had a lot of animals. Our rabbits are named after tombstone characters.
Well, also, bucks don't stick around forever anyways. Unless you, like, breed them for a while and then just keep them for companionship.
Yeah,
but most of the time, you keep a wether.
Yeah, we have bred bucks and then moved them and got new bucks, like, after every couple of years, so everybody doesn't get related. We're going to be selling some piglets, Ashley, but I think most of them are spoken for. We can put your name on a list if you're interested in that. Do I stick with the theme of naming each year? No, not really. I will kind of get a grouping going. Like at one point I had Rory, Suki, Lorelai, Gigi, and we were going to keep running with that. But Rory and Gigi were both like really stunted, and we actually ended up sending them to somebody that they could be pets because we couldn't breed them. And so my Gilmore Girls thing kind of fell apart. So I didn't just keep going with that. I was doing like classic literature names. I had Mr. Darcy. We had Huckleberry.
I'll tell you right now, we've already discussed if the bucks come in, the new bucks that are coming, and some of the new does, if we get to name them, are going to be Downton Abbey.
Yeah, we've talked about doing a Downton Abbey theme on our next round.
Matthew Crawley.
Do you know who can name some animals?
Who?
Amanda Palladini.
Yeah.
She's got good animal names. She was the one who said that we should name a La Mancha because the
Oh,
dog ears Vincent Van Gogh.
Oh yeah.
I thought that was
ears.
Really
I forgot to message them, but then they sent us our Christmas present with the dice. So Amanda, I know you're on here. When I read your note, I read it as, well, here's this, and for when we come to visit and you'll be able to play. And I thought you signed it the Paladins, not the Paladines. Which was fitting considering what you had given us. So I just thought that you thought that was funny.
I did not know that my essential oil site is not working. That was on my video. So I will check into that. Thank you for letting me know. I love that, A Little in Light.
Mundungus Fletcher. We have the rabbit is named Newt for Newt Scamander. Yeah.
That is so funny, Goldshaw Farm. I love whenever you get to name an animal something that's just really, really fitting. You know what's so funny? I love naming animals really creative names, but we have the most basic dog names, like Bear. Bear. It's just the most basic common name. And the reason I named him Bear was because I had a puppy when I was a little girl named Bear. And that was why. And it's just kind of funny to me. We have all of these super creative names. Good night, Josh. The city said thank you for coming in and hanging out with us. But yeah, I love good names. Yeah, we're talking about doing the Downton Abbey theme.
That's fun. Really if we did Highland Cattle, I'd like to do Lord of the Rings names. If we honestly I'd like to use elven names for horses and stuff.
Yeah.
But I've never really gotten into that yet.
Yeah. So I don't know. I had for a long time. Now I already have my future dairy cow's name picked out.
Yeah, but this is different. Highlands are different.
No, yeah, the Jersey cow that I want to get at some point. I already have her name picked out. One time, it's been a few years ago, Daniel and I actually went to this museum, this art museum, and there was this, it was his birthday, and we had gone to get lunch for his birthday, and we went into this art museum, and there was this art display, and it was in honor of this woman who had done a lot for the community as far as the arts had gone, and she was a teacher and just had spent her life, for the arts. And they had done this big display in honor of her name, and her name was Winona Fay. And I was I know, I hope that it's not dishonorable to this woman because I mean it from a place of honor. And some people, one time we told our friends we were jokingly going to name some goats after them, and they were that is so, they were kind of are you seriously going to do that? That's kind of rude. And I was oh man, to me, naming my animals.
Which ones?
Whenever we were talking about naming, we talked about for a year naming all our goats after our friends because we thought that would be really funny. And they were all no.
I guarantee people on this would be yes, do it.
But I want to name a cow Winona Fay because I think it's an honoring thing and I think it's a beautiful name and I just love it.
So we'll get when we get a Drake, we'll call our Drake Morgan. A little Drake duck. Call it Morgan Gold. Name it after Morgan.
Oh, name that little duck after Morgan. I think we can do that. So what do y'all think? Do you think it's cool to name your animals after your friends or not? I mean, I think it's cool. See, I like that, Erica White. I think it's really cool.
I'd love to get a black. See, honestly, if he was a furry dog, like Con, we would have named him Sirius Black. But it didn't fit with him being black and short-haired.
Yeah.
Because Sirius had long hair.
Honestly, we weren't going to name him Con. We were going to get a fawn, black masked fawn Dane. That's what we went to get. We went to pick out the black masked fawn. And they had all these black masked fawn Danes, and they were big. And then they had this one that was a lot smaller. But his face reminded Jeremiah a lot of his childhood dog named Con, and that he's this is the one that I want. Actually, Con is big, but his litter mates, the lady that works at the vet that we go to, because we found these dogs through the vet. They were basically trying to home them before they sent them to a rescue because a woman had bred them when she didn't realize what she was getting into, and basically she just needed out. And so the lady that works at the vet has one of Con's litter mates, and he has always been significantly 20% larger on the weight scale than Con.
Chuck Norris.
Yeah, we had our dog named Chuck Norris. And that was one of those instances where, like,
We probably shouldn't have done that. Yeah, that was a bad idea.
Chuck Norris was unstoppable.
He broke out of electric fences, didn't care.
He was uncontainable.
Chain link, like he didn't go underneath it. He ripped it. Like he ripped the chain link. He broke the metal.
Yeah, like he would power through the electric fence. You could not contain him. And we would try to bring him in the house. He chewed up the carpet. Like he removed the carpet out of the room in one of the boys' rooms. Like took the bottom half of a door off. Broke every fence we ever put him in. Multiple electric wires. We'd try to charge it more. He would just tear through it. And I mean, he'd be yelping the whole time, but like Chuck Norris was uncontainable. And we're like, we did this to ourselves. We did this by calling this dog Chuck Norris because
he's an Anatolian Shepherd.
He was an Anatolian Shepherd, yeah.
He's a cool dog, just not for what we needed.
Yeah. It was sad. He was a really, really cool dog. That's so cool, Homestead. I love beautiful animals that have neat stuff like that. Should have named him Hulk. That's funny. Donna Norris. Yeah, Con, it's Kahn, but Jeremiah's childhood dog was named Con, and that's why he named him that. And of course, I call him Connie a lot of the times, and so people think I'm calling him Connie, which is, I guess, a lady's name, but whatever. Like, he answers to it, so it's fun. And Bear, he gets called Bebe more than he gets called Bear. It is funny because the kids, and whenever he was little, I would call him Bay because people would say they're Bay there before everyone else. I would say Bay, he's Bay, he barks at everything. But yeah, Bebe dog. The Wrath of Con, yeah. Con has actually been a really chill dog.
Man. Like, my sister sent me a birthday present, my oldest sister, and it's like this children's book for Star Trek. And like,
that's good to know, Erica.
And like on the second page, it's and then there was Con, and he wanted everything to be his. And it says, mine, mine, mine. I want it all to be mine, mine, mine. And it's like this children's book of Star Trek, like the original series, and it's hilarious. It's so good.
That's really good.
Oh, that, and I got a mug. Now, this is for my Trekkies. So if you're not a Trekkie, and it's not Haley Rose, but it's still pretty.
We actually haven't eaten dinner yet. It is cooking. Somebody asked.
Okay. So if you are a true Trekkie, you will understand this and it will be hilarious. If you're not, you'll just scratch your head and be like, I don't get it. So it says, when all else fails, eject the warp core. And it's got the Enterprise ejecting the warp core. Come on, guys. That's so good. She's like, I don't get it.
I like my mugs.
Oh my gosh, the tachyon particles are surging. What are we going to do this time? I don't know, Jordy, eject the warp core. Somehow that fixes it.
Chris, Single Dad Homesteading, asked if we were going to name an animal after him, what would it be?
If we're going to name it after Chris?
Mm-hmm.
What animal would it be?
Yeah. I might name a boar after you, Chris. Because they're like stocky but strong.
Yeah,
I wouldn't take a boar. Like I'd leave it alone.
Like you wouldn't want to name like an alpaca or anything.
No, that wouldn't fit.
Maybe Jason.
Jason's not an alpaca.
Yeah, Jason, Bill, they're best friends.
His sister got him that mug. I think from Amazon. Did it come from Amazon?
I don't know. It's so good. I'll ask her. I love it. For all you non-Trekkie people, I'm sorry you don't get it. Go back and watch all the Star Trek ever.
Why did you name Kitten, George, and Gary their names? Kitten, George, you might not know this. Kitten, George, and Gary are actually brothers from two different litters. Yeah. Kitten, George, it's actually a really sad story, but I got this cat from a friend of mine who had a bunch of barn cats, and she had gotten them fixed, but it was like her last litter of barn cats. And I got a few outside cats, and they were like pretty wild. And we thought they were younger than they were. And I don't know if she came pregnant or if she got pregnant, but shortly after we got her, the mama had babies, and she had them out in the back. It was cold outside, and a few of them died. And then we moved the litter up and like got her set up by the house. And she had 3, and they were so beautiful, and they were all long-haired, beautiful kittens. And Jeremiah's mom was still alive, and she lived next door, and she had this dog called Charlie Brown. And he came over here one day, and it was the most traumatic thing. But all the kids were playing, and he came down, and I don't know if he just had not been around kittens. He was never an aggressive dog ever, but he like in an instant killed 2 of those kittens, and Kitten George was the only one that survived out of that litter.
And the kids, okay, you just brought that memory up.
Yeah,
like,
it was.
The kids were.
We don't have to go
there.
into a lot of detail because I don't know if there are children watching.
Oh, the kids were down there with him and they tried to stop him because he didn't understand what he was doing, and it was just they came running out. And it was dramatic.
Jeremiah gets like, he actually like completely kind of like snapped on this dog because
I've done that before on a dog.
Only twice. I've only actually ever seen Jeremiah lose his self-control and like get to a point of that kind of anger 2 times. And it was both at dogs who had killed a bunch of animals. And we had a dog that killed a bunch of chickens once that Jeremiah just like completely freaked out on. But he, like, Charlie never came over to our property again after that. Like, he was so scared to come over here. And Kitten George was like the survivor of that. And so like super sad. And then that mama cat, I had an appointment to take her to get fixed. And she had gotten pregnant again. And after that, we did end up getting her fixed. No, she had babies. She was just very wild. She had those babies and she left. And like, we actually ended up, Jeremiah's sister bottle raised
they were
the second
looking pretty
litter.
Rough.
And we didn't even know she was still around. Like, she was just like disappearing and stuff. Since then, I am really hesitant to do the whole outside barn cat thing because it's just so easy to end up with feral cats and then reproducing.
So we ended up fixing all of our cats.
Yeah, so we ended up fixing them, and we've got George and Gary. We had another female from one of those litters, but she actually disappeared as well. And so we just have the 2 boys. And George, actually, there was another name that we were calling him by, and I can't remember what it was. But Benjamin, gosh, what was it? It was another G name because we had another Gary cat that I loved. It was an old
I thought
man.
We called him George because he was orange like Weasley.
Maybe that was it.
I think that was it.
I can't remember. Maybe Ben was calling him another name. And then Kitten George, I don't know how the kitten got tacked on there, but it did. And it just stuck. And so that's just his name.
I want to ask a quick question. So Dutch Off-Grid Homesteading says, Roots and Refuge Farm, I got the email for the Shindig ticket, got my passport, busy now with the ESTA and planning the logistics. Where are you coming from? I was just curious
awesome.
To find out where exactly you were coming from that you needed a passport.
Cynthia Knight, I space my tomatoes usually about 20 inches apart, 18 to 20 inches. And I have a video that says how to prune tomato plants, and it shows exactly how much I prune them. And I usually prune them quite a lot. Yeah, so at this point, we have the 2 cats. If we ever end up getting more cats, what I'm just going to do is I've talked to local shelters, and basically you can get feral cats and they fix them before they send them to you. And that's just kind of where I'm at. Like, I'm not going to keep any more animals around that are not that type of animal that are not spayed or neutered. Just because that was such a hard situation. And it was just like catching them was difficult. And so getting them, they were just kind of wild. And I really like how it is now because like our cats have been so handled because they were kittens. We did get them as kittens, but they were so handled, but they've only ever lived outside. And so I feel like with George and Gary, we have the best of both worlds because they're they're intense mousers. They will take care of anything, but they also will crawl in your lap and they're super snuggly.
He's coming from the Netherlands.
Wow. Where is it?
He's flying in from Holland.
Wow, that was really cool.
Wow.
Send us a message, man. We'll have to.
If you're going to come that far, like you can come out to our
over.
house. That's pretty far.
Yeah, we don't want any more unintentional breeding happening. That's really, really awesome. Oh, cool. Camping in Branson. beautiful. It seems like you're going to have really good weather for that. Oh, goodness. That's really sweet, Chicanic. I think it's awesome whenever you can take care of stuff. How do you manage your homestead with animals and garden plus kids, especially when they're toddlers, plus health work on your faith and relationship, plus finding time for your dog training? Well, there are two of us that are doing this. So, I mean, like, we're working together. And then recently, over the last few months, we've hired part-time help with Ben Turn. And so he's helping, especially with us, like, getting projects done. Now, we did the farm and all that stuff without an employee for a long time. This actually, like, when we talked about this a couple of weeks ago, it kind of brought up some like negative backlash because people were like, it was just really misunderstanding, but people were like, oh, I thought that you actually were doing the farming yourself, and to learn that you have an employee is disappointing. We did do the farm by ourselves for years, and we could still do the farm by ourselves, but we could not do the farm by ourselves and produce content to teach other people how to do it, as well as homeschooling your kids and all that stuff. There have been different stages of this that required less. Whenever our children were really small, we were not milking animals. We did not have like breeding pigs. We did not have a lot of that stuff. We did not have the animals like the alpacas. We had some goats, but we were raising them up. We had chickens. I was doing the garden. It was a fraction of the size that it is now. I don't feel like I could effectively have small children and do everything that we're doing now. The season of life that we're in right now. And if we ever do, we've talked about adopting in the future, like if we ever are back in the season of having like a small child, there will probably be some adjustment that's required in that. So homeschool, how many hours a day do we homeschool? Not a whole lot. My kids are still really young. So like, I mean, if we
Ben's not even school age yet.
Yeah, if we do an hour or two, like that's good. I mean, like we don't have to do 6 to 8 hours of sitting down classroom time. That's just not how we do it. And so like actual instructional time, there's not a ton of time. I think inside, the thing that I probably spend the most time doing is cooking and then cleaning up after cooking. That's probably the most time consuming inside the house thing, because I cook our food from scratch. And so that takes a lot. Thank you, Rose. I appreciate you so much. But when people say, how do you do all of it? I don't think that I understand that my situation is not typical, because Jeremiah is here like full time. I mean, this is what we do. And because we're creating content at this point, like there are some factors that most people are not going to have. I mean, most people are not going to spend 35 hours a week doing video content and writing stuff. Like you're just not going to do that. And so that is, I mean, I guess that is a full-time job really. And so what you're seeing is what we're doing around having a full-time job. I think the animal chores on a daily basis probably take an average about an hour and a half. Just to do everything. And of course there are some, like the 15th of every month we medicate the alpacas, and that takes 2 hours probably at least.
Oh, we've actually streamlined it.
Yeah.
Instead of having to load them into the chute, we just have Ben hold them.
Yeah.
And I do the administration of the medicine.
Yeah. And for us, another thing that people ask about, like because Jeremiah is medically retired from the Marine Corps, we have health insurance through that. So that's like a really unusual thing. And I try to be really upfront with that people don't think I'm trying to present something that's impossible for them to have, because I think that you would be doing yourself a great disservice to look at our life and say, well, I can't have all the ideal circumstances that they have, so I'm just going to do nothing. I just don't think that, I mean, you're really just, you're shorting yourself in that instance. I think you can have your version of whatever it is that you're dreaming of. And so I don't know. I think pacing yourself, knowing what your limitations are and knowing what your priorities are. Jeremiah and I were just talking about this like a little while ago. And we were like, we wanted to have a discussion about what are our priorities? What are we doing this for? Because to be honest, like it's easy for me to slip into content creator mode and teacher mode and see everything as an opportunity to teach other people how to do it and not just do it for the enjoyment of it. And I was watching all those old Instagram stories and I was like, I feel like I want to make an adjustment. And that's how it is. I want to make an adjustment and like really passionately love the homestead and the simple life, because I feel like I've lost it a little bit, just being completely frank. Maybe not, maybe not entirely, but I think no matter what and where you are in your life, you can always say, I need to make an adjustment. Terry Allred, I don't know where that came from, but that's hilarious. Chuck Norris doesn't write books that assemble themselves out of fear.
Oh, I didn't respond to that because I didn't want to start down that rabbit hole of Chuck Norris.
Greenwich Homestead, that's a great point. When you have a system, it really doesn't take as much time as you think. Every day we do some things the same. Like, our goal is get up early. Like, I do quiet time pretty much every morning, no matter what. There are a lot of mornings I don't look at my phone until 9:30 or 10 o'clock because I don't want to get distracted. If I start my morning, and I mean, I have to get up. So a lot of mornings I have to drive my kids to school, make breakfast, like all of that stuff. But, that's my priority, is to do that. The days look different. There's not like a real schedule. It's very seasonal, I would say, how we manage our time. Like right now, there's not a lot of outside stuff that needs to be done. We have no animals in milk. The garden is
okay. There's no outside extra animal chores. It's just feeding, monthly maintenance for the alpacas, keeping eyes on the goats.
Yeah.
Honestly, the goats that's being let out in the woods have not needed their hooves trimmed because it's so rocky and stuff that their hooves are fine. They knock off the excess. And honestly, like, they haven't had any moisture issues in their hooves because they're able to get out where it's dry instead of being on a flat place that pulls water. So just things like that have changed. So really what we're focusing on right now is finishing up while it's cool, before it gets too hot and before we get too busy planting and all that, is we've got some projects outside that we're wanting to finish that are construction type. We've got a barn to finish. We've got some more fencing to put up. We've got to finish our cleanup of the back. We've got a fence to take down that Brad prepared to take out to get ready for the in-ground garden. Just stuff like that. I've got a list going. And we're knocking it out pretty fast. And, actually Benturn's not going back to school till like middle of January. And so we're going to be putting in some like consistent, like 4 or 5 days in a row of just knocking this stuff out.
Thank you, Keltoid. I'm growing onions for the first time this year. I've actually never grown them, and I'm going to be growing them from sets. But yeah, I don't know, like for me, I'll actually share this a little bit in the vlog tomorrow. Like, we set some food goals this year and really like focusing on some things and saying, okay, what is our why in this? Because I am so passionate about teaching and empowering other people, but that it's the weirdest thing. And I don't even know that I have language for this. Sometimes I think and feel things, and it takes me a while to flesh out how to express them in language. But I feel so passionate about empowering and teaching and sharing and inspiring. But that can never be my why. It's ineffective when teaching and inspiring and equipping becomes the why. You lose the passion for what you're doing, and you cannot teach and inspire and equip if your focus is not on your actual why. And the real truth is that we felt led to do this lifestyle. I mean, we felt like God really led us to this. And, like staying in a place of devotion and living a simple life and honoring and stewarding creation is our why. And when our focus is on that, the inspiring and equipping and the teaching come as an overflow of the things being rooted in devotion. And this is like just being completely transparent. This is probably one of the greatest struggles of my life, is making sure I stay seated in the right why, because I am so driven to teach and equip. I love teaching people things. Like, I love it. I love seeing people get it. but I can feel it, even if it doesn't always show. I can feel it when I stand up out of that, if that makes sense at all. And so yeah, I don't know if I'm rambling here. Oh, it's 8. It's like they know. Here they come. Toby, I am digging that V-neck sweater on you. That looks really handsome. You want to come here?
What's up, guys?
He's embarrassed. We're not tattling.
I haven't been playing. Been talking.
You've
been playing.
Okay, go watch the movie.
It's so good, Xavier.
I'm coming. Go on.
Seeds are so much cheaper. Is it a down south thing to use sets? For me, I may try to start some from seeds and just see. I've just never done it before. For onions, yeah.
Oh, okay.
I do have some seeds, so it probably wouldn't hurt to go ahead and start them. I don't know if I'm a little late in starting them, though.
Preach the gardening gospel.
Preach the gardening gospel. Thanks, Nate's Mountain Homestead. When you stop practicing what you preach or teach, you're just talking. That's so good, Chris.
When was the last time we checked the P.O. box? Wasn't it recently?
A few days ago. What was it that, I guess if you tell me, then it won't be a surprise if I haven't gotten it. That's so good, Lauren. I'm glad. It's really like, it's a weird thing. Like, and one of the things that I really strive for in my life is to be really honest with myself about how I'm actually feeling and processing things, because it's very easy to get into, like autopilot and lose touch with why you're doing things, what you're doing. And it's very easy to get out of touch with how you're actually thinking. And I think that we're so much more effective when we know what we're actually thinking. Sherry Nations, I got asparagus seeds, but I'm not sure how to make a permanent bed. What I'm going to do, because we're actually going to put in the perennial garden, like an asparagus area. And what I'm planning on doing is just basically creating like a border, maybe with maybe some, what are the posts? Like posts?
What are we talking about?
Or like 4x4s or something like that. Like
For
just
a bed?
something. Yeah, just to kind of make a border and like grow, mounding the soil up there. I'm not looking to create just a raised bed, but I just want to kind of designated space or in the perennial garden area for asparagus.
We'll be able to do that, or we'll do. I'm seriously considering pulling from the massive amounts of stones next door.
Yeah, or stones.
And
That's
just
what we
laying
talked
out
about.
stones and kind of like some kind of a border, just to kind of retain the soil from runoff. You don't want, if you just leave it open, it'll run off easier. If it has a light border, then it's more likely to stay, at least for that season.
Thank you, P. Wells. I appreciate it.
Plus, we need to specify walkways, and so that's another way to do that.
Yeah, we're actually going to start tackling getting that perennial garden in soon.
Yes.
I'm drinking chai tea tonight, so I'm going to ask that.
Tetley. That's what I'm drinking.
He's drinking
English breakfast.
Yeah. Are grains even worth growing on a small scale? I have not attempted that because I didn't
Come on
really
down,
feel
Patrick.
I didn't really
Just don't
feel
take muscles and only got these two things. I got.
We've had people message and ask if they could help, but we haven't, because of liability and different things like that. We haven't really opened up to
yeah,
a lot of help.
I don't want to get sued.
Yeah.
Sorry.
And I've just seen it go very poorly sometimes for other channels where they have been open.
Not that we're not open to it
completely, but so I just don't know. What time do we wake and go to bed? Erica, I'm actually trying to make myself go to bed earlier. I'm trying to get into the habit of that because I think it's unhealthy how little I sleep. Typically on just an average time, I usually go to bed around 12 and wake up around 6. But I think I should probably
Shoot,
sleep.
we don't even need the rock bars, man. Just bring the boys. The rocks are just laying out there. I'm going to get my brother's skid steer at some point and hopefully start making a pile.
Yeah. I don't want to get sued.
I really don't want to get sued.
Yeah. And I mean, we could make people sign a liability waiver, and that would probably be the way that we would have to go. So
We might do that. I don't know.
Hey, Lone Star Living. Yeah, we are actually about to sign off. Our kids are getting up and they're done. We actually haven't eaten dinner yet. The pigs kind of threw us off. So I've got sweet potatoes in the oven and a pork butt in the crock pot, and it's ready to go. So thank you guys. I think we're going to go ahead and say goodbye.
Did you want to mention the meat?
You can. I need to go to the bathroom. I need to go.
Okay.
Bye,
Bye, guys.
All right. Thank you, guys.
Bye.